Welcome into Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery here on a Friday morning with you on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Today on the show, we're going to look at the interior defensive line rankings from Pro Football Focus and where specifically Grady Jarrett falls. How many guys on the Falcons can find their way to becoming elite? And we're going to put some expectations on the 13-game stretch for the Mets and the Braves because, as we've discussed often, this is the time to make a move. Well, it's a Friday edition of Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.
This is Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome into Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Always asking you to head over to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta into your search browser, subscribe to our YouTube channel, leave us a comment, give us your thoughts about what we are talking about. Free and available to download, and all of your podcast platforms is where you can find us as well. Spotify, Odyssey, always free and available there. And follow me on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. We've been talking about that word elite and been looking at some of the different positional rankings for the Atlanta Falcons. We were talking about Kyle Pitts the other day, and is he elite as he's listed on Pro Football Focus's elite tight end list. So Pro Football Focus also came out here recently with their interior defensive line rankings in tiers. And I think it's interesting as well because let's start with what they list here. First off, their tier one, they call it a one of one, and that is Aaron Donald by himself in that group. Now, I don't think any savvy football fan at all, or even casual football fan, would dispute that Aaron Donald is far and away the most elite of elite interior defensive linemen in the NFL. There is nobody else like him. That's why anytime people make comparisons to what Aaron Donald does, I always used to say this about when people would compare teams to the New England Patriots and the way they operate. There's never been, and there's never probably going to be anybody like what the Patriots run was. Aaron Donald's probably in that category too. You're never probably going to see a 20-sack interior defensive lineman. You might see some guys who, come up with, 8 or 10 sacks in a year here or there. But to consistently be 12, 15, 18 to 20 sacks, we're never going to see that. So I'm in 100% agreement. He is the elite of the elite. Then they put on their tier two the guys that are elite. So number 2 they have is Cameron Hayward of Pittsburgh. Number 3 is Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 4 is DeForest Buckner of the Indianapolis Colts. And at number 5, and in their elite category, is Grady Jarrett of the Atlanta Falcons. Quick write-up. Prior to 2021, Grady rattled off 4 straight years of 80-plus PFF grades with the Falcons and established himself as one of the best all-around interior defensive linemen in the NFL. Jarrett fell off slightly from that level in 2021, but still profiles as Atlanta's only defensive lineman who offenses have to worry about. Now, and they talk about Jarrett's 93 quarterback pressure since 2020 are more than any other Falcons player on the roster. In fact, it's over 50. Okay, with all due respect, that last line, that's like telling me that you're the nicest guy on death row. To say that Grady Jarrett has the most quarterback pressures in the last few years, that's like being the tallest dwarf. Okay, with all due respect to Stephen Means and Dante Fowler and again, me and Stephen Means share a lot in common. Both of us had no sacks for the Atlanta Falcons last year, and he only beat me by 3 quarterback pressures last year. Okay, so we understand and establish all that. So the question I ask you today is, Grady Jarrett is listed as elite. Is he elite? Now, I said the other day when Kyle Pitts was listed in the elite category that I did not think that he was elite yet. I did not think he was in the same category as George Kittle or Travis Kelce, some of these top-tier tight ends, even Mark Andrews, Darren Waller. I don't think he's hit that level yet. Is Grady Jarrett elite? I say yes. I think Grady is still an elite interior defensive lineman. Now, I know what people are going to say. Well, Chuckery didn't have a good year. I get that. Here's what I want you to do. For all of you people that love to tell me about you put on tape and this, and that. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to put on the Detroit Lions game, okay, from last year. Put on the Detroit Lions game. And I also want you to put on the version that has Grady Jarrett mic'd up so you can listen to him. Because what you're going to see is at times in that game that there were not 1, not 2, 3 offensive linemen that were blocking Grady Jarrett. Let me repeat that. 3 offensive linemen that were blocking Grady Jarrett. And the reason that I want you to get it with the audio from Grady Jarrett, because he was mic'd up during that game, is I want you to hear specifically when he says, quote, "Damn, how many more guys you going to throw at me?" The fact that Grady Jarrett eats up 3 offensive linemen should tell you all you need to know, not even so much about Grady Jarrett, but how absolutely positively dreadful the rest of their defensive line has been. Grady is that kind of caliber of player. Again, is Grady Jarrett Aaron Donald? Nope. Is Cam Hayward or any of those other guys I mentioned, Chris Jones, are any of those guys Aaron Donald? Nope. So we're not going to compare him to any of those guys. But you look at what Grady Jarrett brings to this team. He still is a guy that can blow up plays in the backfield, still a guy that gets in the backfield for tackles for loss. And look, he's still a guy who can give me 5 to 6 sacks. Is he as good as he was maybe a year or two ago? I don't know. Are any of us as good as we were a year or two ago? I have no problem with Grady Jarrett. And the fact that the Falcons decided to extend him and get this thing done. We talked about this on the show as well. Grady is one of those core important pieces. We talk about all the cap space and this, that, and the other. Well, Arthur Smith's number one comment way back after the Matt Ryan trade and all that was, we need to free up cap space to sign our guys, not to go out and way overpay for free agents that may or may not help you based upon things they did in the past. We have to sign our own guys. What was the first thing that they did? Sign Grady Jarrett to an extension. And a reasonable one at that. I mean, forget the money part of it, but you signed Grady Jarrett to a very reasonable extension. But more importantly is you gave Grady Jarrett fair market value, and you kept him around your franchise. And that was important. And those are guys that you just can't lose on your franchise. You can't give up guys that are part of the solution and the core of your football team, because these guys think that they're going to be good in the next few years, shorter rather than later. They're not looking at this as some long process to get really good. They think this is going to be a short-term thing, that they're going to be bad, or I shouldn't even say that because they don't even believe that. They're not going to be where they want to be in a year or two. And I think you have to look at the bigger picture with Grady Jarrett. I do believe that he is still in that elite category. And when I think you talk about in the realm of the Chris Joneses and DeForest Buckners, Cam Haywards, you're talking about some guys a little bit older, some guys a little bit younger. Grady falls right into that group. There's no reason that if you can't get some help around Grady Jarrett, just think about if I understand this is a big if, but if Lorenzo Carter and Ebiketie, and hell, if you can get anything out of Marlon Davidson or one of those guys, right? If any of those guys can begin to start to contribute to the defensive line play, getting to the quarterback, contain, if nothing else, just contain and stay in your lanes and contain the quarterback in the pocket. If you can get any sort of help for Grady Jarrett, there's no reason why that he can't get back to where he was. But if it's another season of whatever, and I hate to say it this way, but let's say Ebiketie flames out, Lorenzo Carter really isn't that guy. Lorenzo Carter plays more like the guy at the very beginning of the season than he did at the very end of the season. Whatever that is, if it flames out like that, then it's back to, here are 3 offensive linemen blocking Grady Jarrett, and here's Grady saying, damn, how many more guys are you going to throw at me? So I do think that Grady is still elite, and I think he's one of the most important pieces that you have on this roster. I'm glad they extended him. Let's see if he can finally get some help on the defensive line. All right, when we come back, I want to kind of look at elite players within the division and who might be the next guy that can become elite for the Atlanta Falcons. We'll talk about that next. It's Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.